choose each link to learn more about Amazon Bedrock. You have completed this course. Next, you test what you have learned with a final assessment.
By choosing this course, you are likely ready to increase your knowledge and skills in cloud computing. Cloud skills are in high demand, and that demand keeps growing. Cloud computing skills are relevant for all types of IT professionals. Increasing your cloud skills and seeking certifications will validate your knowledge and abilities with current and future employers. This course is a great start for understanding how to build amazing things by using cloud computing. You have reached the end of Module 1. You should now be able to discuss your reasons for taking Cloud 101. Cloud computing can seem confusing at first, but by the end of this section, it should become clear. You will be able to discuss cloud computing in the following: define cloud computing, describe the basics of cloud computing, discuss the benefits of cloud computing, identify cloud service models and cloud deployment models. The cloud gives enormous advantages to people who can use its unique powers. You use IT assets as programmatic resources to quickly set up and tear down infrastructure in a way that is not possible with a traditional approach. By accessing these resources, you can move forward in a dynamic fashion. You can increase your database throughput or compute power easily. This agility and flexibility can make the difference to your business. One of the biggest benefits of cloud computing is the ability to pay as you go. You can test and use the system without being fully committed. You can stop using these services at any time and change tactics to fit your needs. Defining cloud computing is the first step. Cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. AWS is the leading cloud platform with over 175 services and a large community of customers and partners. AWS does the undifferentiated heavy lifting of IT for companies, from the smallest startups to the world's biggest companies. These companies can focus on product innovation and doing what they do best. They use AWS services to develop products and services and manage their infrastructure. This course will help you increase your knowledge of cloud computing. It will help you to prepare to join one of these exciting companies or start your own. Cloud computing grew out of the advent of the internet and has grown at a rapid pace since the early 2000s. Next, you'll review a brief history of cloud computing development. Modern computing is based on the client-server model. In computing, a client can be a web browser or desktop application that a person interacts with to make requests to computer servers. A server can consist of services such as Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud, a type of virtual server. The cloud gives enormous advantages with the use of IT assets as programmatic resources. You can quickly set up and tear down infrastructure in a way that isn't possible with a traditional approach. By accessing these resources, you can move forward in a dynamic fashion with agility and flexibility. The ability to pay as you go lets you test and use the system without being fully committed. You can stop using services or change tactics to fit your needs. As cloud computing has grown in popularity, several different models and deployment strategies have emerged to help meet specific needs of different users. Each type of cloud service and deployment method provides you with different levels of control, flexibility, and management. Understanding the differences between deployment models, and which deployment strategies you can use, helps you decide which set of services is right for your needs. Cloud computing is offered in 3 different service models, and each one satisfies a unique set of business requirements. These 3 models are known as software as a service, platform as a service, and infrastructure as a service. Select a button to learn more about cloud computing models. Your choice of deployment model depends on your desired infrastructure, data storage needs, and access requirements. Your unique business requirements will help guide the type of cloud deployment model that you choose. Select a button to learn more about cloud computing deployment models. You have reached the end of Module 2. You should now be able to define cloud computing, describe the basics of cloud computing, discuss the benefits of cloud computing, and identify cloud service models and cloud deployment models. AWS has an extensive, reliable, and secure global cloud infrastructure with over 175 services for a wide range of use cases. These services are built on a robust infrastructure where the responsibilities for programming and security are shared between the customer and AWS. In this module you will learn how to discuss the history of AWS cloud computing, describe the AWS global infrastructure, discuss the customer and AWS parts of the shared responsibility model, describe the well-architected framework and discuss how to apply the pillars, define the total cost of ownership and billing considerations. AWS offers a broad set of over 175 global cloud-based services. These products include compute, storage, databases, analytics, networking, developer tools, business applications, management tools, machine learning, Internet of Things, and security. AWS provides groundbreaking benefits for its customers. With AWS On-Demand Access, you can provision the services that you need, when you need them, in just a few minutes. With the AWS Pay-as-you-go pricing model, you pay for a service only for the time that you use it. New services can be provisioned quickly, without the upfront capital expense or commitment. Enterprises, startups, small and medium-sized businesses, and customers in the public sector can access the building blocks that they need. In this way, they can respond quickly to changing business requirements. A business of any size can try lots of experiments, without having to live with the collateral damage of failed results. With AWS, you have access to a toolbox of services that you might not otherwise be able to use or afford. Such services include machine learning, analytics, IoT, and high-end security services. AWS has consistently been the leader in cloud infrastructure. Since 2010, AWS has been evaluated as the leader in the 2020 Gartner Magic Quadrant for Cloud Infrastructure and Platform Services. Among the top 7 cloud vendors, AWS has placed highest in both axes of measurement, ability to execute and completeness of vision. The main components of the AWS global infrastructure are regions, availability zones, and edge locations. This map shows the current regions and edge locations that are available in North America. Select the region and availability zone diagram to learn more about them. When you are done, choose Next to continue. Regions are located all across the globe. Hover over the regions to see the region name, region code, and number of availability zones in each region. When building your architecture in the cloud, it is important to plan for failure. When you build your architecture, you want to have a plan in place to resolve any failures that might occur. Choose the Storage, Compute, and Database tabs to see how the AWS Global Infrastructure can be used to plan for failure. In addition to planning for failure at a regional level, with the AWS Global Infrastructure, you can plan for failure at a global level. For example, suppose that your production architecture is located in the Northern Virginia region. You can have a backup that mirrors your production architecture at a lower scale in the Oregon region, or any region around the world. All that you would have to do is scale up your resources in the backup region. You will learn more about disaster recovery as you dive deeper into AWS. Choose each tab to learn more about the benefits that the AWS Global Infrastructure offers. The AWS Shared Responsibility Model is a security model that is used to protect cloud environments that use AWS services. It is divided into two parts. AWS is responsible for the security of the cloud, and the customer is responsible for the security in the cloud. Choose Customer and AWS to learn more about the responsibilities of each. Then choose Next to continue. As an example, suppose that you create a bucket by using Amazon S3 to store files in. Then you, the customer, are responsible for security in the cloud. For example, you're responsible for granting access permissions to users and applying any encryption requirement to the buckets and files. AWS is responsible for security of the cloud. This responsibility includes maintaining the storage hardware that the file is hosted on and the physical security of the data centers where the hardware is located. AWS developed the well-architected framework after reviewing thousands of customers' architectures on AWS. It is designed. Creating a cloud architecture is a lot like constructing a building. If the foundation is not solid, structural problems can undermine the integrity and function of the building. To build a system that delivers on your expectations and requirements, consider all of the following pillars that are part of the AWS well-architected framework: operational excellence, security, reliability, performance efficiency, cost optimization, and sustainability. Incorporate these pillars into your architecture to help you produce stable and efficient systems, allowing you to focus on the business aspects of the design. Choose each pillar to learn more. The AWS Well-Architected tool is a free tool that helps you review the state of your workloads. It compares them to the latest AWS architectural best practices. To use this tool, you define your workload and answer a set of questions about each well-architected pillar. The AWS Well-Architected tool then provides a plan on how to architect for the cloud, by using established best practices. The total cost of ownership, TCO, is a financial metric. It is used to estimate and compare direct and indirect costs of a product or a service. It typically includes the actual costs of procurement, management, maintenance and decommissioning of hardware resources, typically over a 3-year or 5-year period. Given the plethora of different hardware and service configurations available today, it sometimes becomes difficult to know the actual costs. It's challenging to come up with an accurate TCO model that represents the true cost of running your application. With AWS Pricing Calculator, even someone with a base level of familiarity with infrastructure can generate a fact-based TCO comparison for on-premise on-premises and AWS infrastructure. In 3 easy steps, it provides both a summary and a comprehensive detailed report with an FAQ that explains assumptions and methods that are used. To use the AWS pricing calculator, you search and add the AWS services that you need.
Hey everyone, welcome to the course. We hope you're ready to dive in and learn the fundamentals of the AWS Cloud.
We have a lot of material to cover, and we're going to start with defining what is the cloud.
But before we do that, let's start with some introductions. Hi, I'm Morgan Willis, a principal cloud technologist with AWS training and certification. I started in the IT world about 15 years ago, and along the way, I decided that I was missing something. I missed the helping and teaching aspect that I had in my first job in IT support. So I went into teaching at a software development bootcamp, and then I eventually landed here at Amazon Web Services, or AWS, where as a cloud technologist, I get to support others in their cloud learning journey every day.
How's it, learners? My name is Rudy Chetty, and I'm a chief techfluencer and a principal solutions architect for AWS Partners. I'm originally from sunny Cape Town, South Africa, the home of Bunny Chow, Biltong, and Boerewors. I've been in the technology space for over 2 decades, helping customers worldwide realize their application and cloud dreams. Education is my passion. Therefore, I cannot wait for you to dive into this course and learn all about the wonders of the cloud and AWS.
And I'm Alan Meridian. I'm an instructor in AWS training and certification. Over the last 8+ years with AWS, I've delivered hundreds of trainings, introducing learners like you to AWS concepts, services, and solutions, sometimes involving ukuleles. I'm glad you're here. We're going to learn a lot together.
Look, cloud computing can be complex, but don't worry, this is why we're here. Our curriculum provides analogies, examples, and use cases that will help you better understand these concepts. We'll cover all the essential information you need to be comfortable discussing AWS. Additionally, we'll throw in some AWS service demos to show you how things work in action. This layered approach to learning will really reinforce concepts. Oh, and we promise to keep it simple.
AWS offers a massive range of services for every business. AWS is the world's most comprehensive and broadly adopted cloud, and millions of customers use AWS to be more agile, lower costs, and innovate faster. Whether you're looking for compute power, generative AI, databases, storage, content delivery, or specialized services for some other functionality, AWS has the services you need to help you build sophisticated applications for your business.
That is a massive range of services, and I wish we had time to cover them all, but we did promise to keep it simple. So let's start this conversation with a fundamental concept of computing, the client-server model.
And to get things percolating in your brain, we are going to brew up a coffee shop analogy. This coffee shop is going to act as a real-world metaphor to show you the different parts of the cloud computing model. And the analogy will help you understand how AWS can change the way your IT operates. First, let's think about the coffee shop and how it can represent the client-server model.
Let's have Morgan be the server, the barista, and I'll be the client or the customer. I'm going to make a request. In this case, it's for coffee. In the computing world, the request could be for anything. It could be rain pattern analysis in South Africa, or it could be the latest x-rays of your knee, or videos of kittens. Whatever the business needs is where the request starts. Basically, a customer makes a request, and with permissions, the server responds to that request. All I want is a caffeinated beverage. Morgan represents the server part of the client-server model. In AWS, she would be a virtual server. So from a cloud computing architectural point of view, the coffee shop transaction is pretty straightforward. I, the user, made a request to Morgan, the server. Morgan validated that the request was legitimate. In this case, did I give her money? Is the item that I ordered something that they can make? Then she returned a response, which in this example is a triple mocha with extra caramel shots.
Now, in the real world, applications are usually more complicated than just a single transaction with a single server. In a business solution that is more mature, it can get beautifully complex. But again, we're going to start with the basics. As the curriculum progresses, these basic concepts will continue to build on each other, and hopefully, by the end, those beautifully complex concepts will make a lot more sense. You've already tackled your first cloud computing concept. So now let's continue with a key concept of AWS, and that is you only pay for what you use.
Think about this principle as it applies to staffing a coffee shop. Employees are only paid for the hours they work in the actual shop. So if, say, Morgan and I are off the clock, well, then we don't get paid because we didn't work any hours. Moreover, the store owner decides how many baristas they need for any given day of the week. Busy days require more employees, and slower days require fewer. Let's take an example. Say the coffee shop is releasing a brand new drink called Rudy's Rhubarb Refresher, trademark. The shop anticipates increased demand due to the beverage being very tasty, so they staff the shop with 10 baristas all day long. Although this works with a sudden surge of customers, it isn't great for slower periods during the day. Some baristas could be idle, and it would be hard to justify paying them to just be there in case they are needed. The monetary cost just doesn't make good financial sense.
Yeah, and yet that is exactly what happens in an on-premises data center where you can't just snap your fingers and triple your capacity. At AWS, you don't prepay for anything, and you don't have to worry about capacity constraints.
When you need more resources, you just provision them right then and there. How cool is that? Then, when you don't need those resources anymore, you can deprovision them just as quickly. You just set up the right configuration, and it's done automatically. And the best part is that when you deprovision the resources, you stop paying for them immediately. Just like you only pay your employees for the hours they're working, you only pay for the AWS resources that you consume.
Right, so paying only for what you use is the first AWS-specific concept we covered, and it's just one of the many benefits when it comes to running your business on AWS. And that's really why we're here, so you can understand how AWS is built to help you run your business better.
Exactly. You've already learned some foundational concepts about the cloud, and that's just the start.
Yep, things are only going to get more interesting, folks, as we dive deeper. Thanks for joining us on this learning journey, future AWS Cloud Practitioner. See you soon. Before we dive into cloud computing, let's rewind the clock and set some context for how Amazon grew to include Amazon Web Services. In the early 2000s, Amazon.com was an e-commerce site that customers used to buy books and other consumer goods. As more people started to use the site, the Amazon IT team had to continually make upgrades to keep things running smoothly. More servers, more storage, more compute, you name it, they were deploying it. The team eventually decided to develop various standardized tools, mechanisms, and ways to make things more efficient and scalable. These methods proved to be quite effective, and in 2003, employees thought maybe this knowledge would be valuable to other companies facing similar challenges. Thus, Amazon started to envision a service that would allow businesses to rent computing power, storage, and other resources on demand. This business model could eliminate the need for upfront investment in hardware. Just a year later, in November 2004, AWS launched its first public infrastructure service, Amazon Simple Queue Service. 2 years later, AWS launched Amazon Simple Storage Service for data storage and Amazon Elastic Compute Cloud for scalable compute. Initially, AWS was used by smaller startups and developers. However, its scalability, cost-effectiveness, and ease of use quickly attracted larger enterprises. Over the next few years, AWS rapidly expanded its offerings by adding databases, networking, analytics, and many other cloud-based services. Fast forward to the present, AWS powers a significant portion of the internet, serving millions of customers worldwide, from small startups and businesses to large corporations, government agencies, and more. What started as an internal solution for Amazon's own IT needs has grown into a global cloud computing leader. With that quick history lesson in mind, let's look at a working definition of cloud computing. Cloud computing is essentially the on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. Shall we break this down a bit? I think we shall. On-demand means you use resources as needed. Let's say your business needs 2,000 terabytes of storage. Open an AWS account, throw some files into Amazon S3, and Bob's your uncle. You're good to go. If you don't need to store those files anymore, delete them and stop paying immediately. The idea of the delivery of these on-demand IT resources, as you learned, is the concept that got AWS started in the first place. Let's say you have an application that you have to run, content you need stored, or data you need analyzed. Basically, you have stuff that uses IT resources that have to live and operate somewhere. All of that data is stored in a data center, which is essentially a building or set of buildings devoted to housing servers that contain all this data. Data centers are designed with redundant power, cooling, and security measures to ensure secure and continuous operation. Historically, businesses would run applications in their own data centers or co-locate with other customers in a shared facility. There was no alternative. Once AWS became available, companies could now run their applications in other data centers they didn't actually own. No more infrastructure to manage, no more repetitive tasks, and time-consuming ones. Goodbye. By using AWS, teams could now focus on innovation. Oh, and the over-the-internet part means you can access those resources remotely. You can be in your house, place of business, or visiting family around the world. Hi, Mom. In fact, all you need is an internet connection. Log into your AWS account and manage your infrastructure right from your web browser. And with pay-as-you-go pricing, if you don't need a particular part of your infrastructure, just deprovision it. Simple as that. No contracts, no need to call a sales rep. To reiterate, cloud computing is the on-demand delivery of IT resources over the internet with pay-as-you-go pricing. So, as you tackle the rest of this content, keep this definition in mind. Happy learning.
Okay, you have a good working definition of cloud computing, and you've also touched on why it's beneficial from a business perspective. Now you'll learn even more about the advantages of using a cloud computing model. We'll cover 6 primary benefits of the AWS cloud. Let's start by talking a bit more about that first concept we've mentioned, the ability to pay as you go. With the cloud, you can trade fixed expenses for variable expenses. Remember when we talked about how data is housed in a data center? When you're building a traditional on-premises facility, you typically need to invest a large amount of money up front. This includes investments in physical space, hardware, staff, and upkeep to make sure everything is running smoothly. For some businesses, this can be hundreds of thousands or even millions of dollars. Then, regardless of the data center's utilization rate, you have a fixed cost, and you have to set up your budget around that fixed cost. Billing with AWS is fundamentally different. Your bill with AWS will be variable from month to month as you consume different amounts of resources. The great thing about this model is that if you're just getting started, there's no need to come up with a big investment to build out your AWS environment.
Instead, you can start small and get billed for only what you use, and you can use built-in billing and budgeting tools to find ways to save money every month as your business grows. So that's the first advantage. The next advantage is that you benefit from